Thank you, Professor Ali. So before I start presenting my talk today, I'd like to express my deepest gratitude to the conference organizing committee, especially Professor Andy Fang and Professor Linda Ling, the chair of this symposium. Thank you for having me today by Zoom, and thank you for all your support. Now, the title of my talk today is Generative AI in Language Education, Evolving Roles of Teachers and Pedagogical Innovation. Now, the outline of my presentation is going to be as follows. First, I'd like to share my research project and experiences related to the use of technology in language education. And second, I'd like to discuss the impact of AI on language education while posing some philosophical questions for us to ponder. And then finally, I'd like to share my current project and my future vision on language education in the age of AI. Now, so let's start. Now, this article, The End of Falling Language Education, this article was published more than a year ago. Article was published in the journal called The Atlantic. And it says, thanks to AI, people may no longer feel the need to learn a second language. Now, it is true, we now have a so-called universal AI translator or interpreter, so we may not see the value of learning foreign languages. Then, is AI threatening the field of foreign language education? My answer to this question is no. Rather, I'd like to argue AI is giving us a great opportunity for us to unlearn and relearn language pedagogy. Now, this is a quote from Alvin Toffler. Alvin Toffler is a famous American writer, and in his famous book, which was published in 1970, Future Shock, he says, the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Then how can we unlearn and relearn language pedagogy in the age of AI? Please keep in mind, here unlearning is not about forgetting the old lessons or knowledge. It is about the ability to be open-minded and embrace a new paradigm. Then, how can we reposition or transform language education in the age of AI? So this is a big topic that we need to tackle, and I hope that my talk today can give us some insight on this. So I will start with my background and research interest. I'm currently teaching Japanese as a senior lecturer in global languages at MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. I'm of course teaching Japanese language classes, but at the same time, I'm overseeing and coordinating the Japanese language program at MIT. I joined MIT in 2013, but before joining MIT, I was working at Microsoft Research, initially for NLP, Natural Language Processing Group, and then later Machine Translation Team. Now, my experience at Microsoft Research was wonderful. It was wonderful because I could work with great computer scientists and programmers. But as you probably know, companies like Microsoft have the culture of sink or swim. Now, I was not trained as a computational computer scientist or programmer. I was trained as a linguist. So the first several years, really rough. I always have to actually go to library and study computer science and programming languages. But I worked for Microsoft Research about 13 years. And toward the end, I actually started doing soul searching, asking myself, what do I really want to do? And my answer to this question was, I'd like to work on language education and technology. And believe it or not, around that time, I received one email saying MIT was looking for a senior lecturer in Japanese. And I thought MIT would be a wonderful place to merge technology and language education. So I decided to move from Seattle, Washington to Boston, Massachusetts. Now, my research interest at MIT center around technology and language education. But before joining to MIT, when I was working at Microsoft Research, I was already interested in technology and language education. For instance, this NLP, Natural Language Processing Story Maker, we actually developed this system as a side project in 2005, which is more than like 20 years ago. Now, this NLP Story Maker provides users, especially children, with direct visual output in response to their natural language input. We wanted to develop this application to enhance children's writing skills. But the point here is this NLP Story Maker is exactly a precursor of the current text-to-image generation. There is a short video clip of NLP Story Maker. So let's watch this. And keep in mind, this is 20 years ago.
Hello, my name is Michel Pahu and I work for Microsoft Research University Relations. And I'm going to show you an innovation that I created in collaboration with Microsoft Research Natural Language Processing Group. This innovation actually allows to convert text to animation. The animation engine is taking this information and then generating the animation on the fly using a database of objects, animations, and so on. Okay, so let's say, I'm just writing once upon a time a dragon flew over the beach. Then as soon as I type the period, I get the corresponding animation. So let's suppose now I type, then it fell down. Then I have an instant reward and see the...
So as you just saw, children write stories and this NLP Story Maker actually generate image.
Hello?
Now, returning to my research interest at MIT, I am focusing on the use of emerging technologies such as virtual reality, NLP, AI for language instruction. Now, when I joined MIT in 2013, I was lucky that I could meet with Professor Patty Myers. She is the director of the Fluid Interfaces group at MIT's Media Lab. Now, MIT's Media Lab is called the hub of innovation. There are lots of very interesting innovative projects going on. But I could actually work with one of Professor Maya's students, and we started working on the application, the development of an application called Jajan. Now, Jajan is a Japanese onomatopoeia that roughly corresponds to English tada. And this Jajan actually utilizes what we call shared virtual space. Now, this is almost like 10 years ago, and this is a high-level overview of Jajan's platform system. So at that time, we used Kinect camera, and using the internet, we created shared virtual space for language instruction. Now, there's a short video clip of Jajam, but before showing this video, I'd like us to kind of understand the scenario here. So this is me, and this is my student, Jason. I am in Japan, and Jason is in the United States. So two individuals are physically apart. And then I'm going to teach Jason Japanese using Jajan. So let's watch it. Jason-san, konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
O genki desu ka? I'm telling Jason, so let's study Japanese.
じゃあ、それをしましょう。
And I asked Jason, where would you like to go?
いいですか
And he said he wants to go to Narita Airport. So this is a menu bar, and he chose Narita Airport. And we are immersed
練習
to
しましょうか
Narita Airport. And then I'm going to teach Jason expressions such as how to do nice to meet you in Japanese.
はじめまして。どうぞよろしくお願いし
And
ます。
as you can see, using shared virtual space, you can not only teach language but also body languages as well. This is a Japanese grocery store scene, and I am teaching Jason like how to ask prices
じゃあ、
and how to
2つくだ
shop
さい。
certain
2つですね。
items.
はい。じゃあ、2つで1000円です。
ありがとうございます。
どうもありがとうございました。
The next one, this one is for
Let me see
ESL
what I
students.
need. Hey Jason, what is burrito?
It's basically a tortilla which has a type of meat in it, and then cheese, salsa, guacamole, or any of those ingredients.
Okay, great. I'll order burrito. じゃあ、ジェイソンさん。
Now I am asking Jason, let's go to a Japanese toilet because I wanted to teach how to use Japanese toilet. As you know, Japanese toilet is actually very complicated to use, and I am actually going to teach if you push this button, what will happen.
水が出ます。それからこのボタンを押すとトイレの座席のシートが暖かくなります。わかりましたか？
わかりました。
So the point here is using shared virtual space, you can not only teach language or expressions, but also cultural information as well. Now, the simple philosophy of Jajang is language needs to be taught in context. And technologies such as virtual reality could be instrumental in simulating real context for language learners. After Zhejiang, I conducted a series of virtual reality or mixed reality related research projects together with MA graduate students from the Media Lab and undergraduate students at MIT. And I am going to present just a couple of these projects. The first one is called Word Sense. Now, WordSense is a mixed reality application, and this uses Microsoft HoloLens. So this is me, and this is the student that I worked with. So this is a mixed reality application. So a user or student sees some object in reality. And this application actually shows linguistics information associated with this object using holograms. So this is a cup, and then as you see here, we show sentences that contain the word cup. Of course, if the user wants to see a definition of a cup, we can show that too. The next one is called Words in Motion. Now, this is a virtual reality application, and we wanted to investigate how so-called kinesthetic learning, so learning through body movement, impact language acquisition, in particular, vocabulary acquisition. So there's a video again, so let's watch the video. So as you can see, we are using a body movement detection system. So when user does certain action, like here drop, and then the system actually recognize what kind of movement is it, and then pops up this word drop. Now, we conducted a small experiment using 60 undergraduate students at MIT to see how such kinesthetic learning would impact vocabulary learning. And we actually showed that kinesthetic learning actually increased vocabulary retention statistically significantly. I also conducted various virtual reality projects with MIT's undergraduate students, and I'm going to just briefly talk about two projects. The first one is kanji learning game. Now, this student really loved game, and then also he loved to learn kanji, so he created a virtual kanji learning game. Now, another student actually created virtual reality town. Here, students kind of interact with NPC non-player character like this, and then find out, say, the location of a hotel and making a reservation at that hotel. So, as I just described, I've done a lot of virtual reality related project, but in parallel to such project, I was also interested in NLP or AI based research. Now, one of such project is AI Japanese language tutor. We started working on this project in 2016 together with Dr. Takahashi from Japan. Now, our motivation of developing AI Japanese language tutor is we wanted to develop a Japanese language writing support system for learners of Japanese, especially focusing on grammatical error corrections in real time. And we wanted to promote personalized learning anytime, anywhere. Now, at that time, we didn't have LLMs, large language models, but we used a technique called deep learning. So the way we developed this Japanese AI tutor is we first scraped good Japanese sentences from the internet, and then we synthesized error Japanese sentences using NLP rules, and we built a parallel corpus data between good Japanese and bad Japanese. Now, this is actually similar to machine translation technique. In the case of machine translation, it's two different languages, say English Chinese or English Japanese. But in our case, it's good Japanese and bad Japanese. And in order to learn the mapping between these two, we use a so-called convolutional neural network. Now, unfortunately, at that time, the lack of training data and the lack of machine power really limited the error correction. And we could only just do very simple error correction. But in November 2022, OpenAI released ChatGPT, and ChatGPT said, "We have a solution for you." The emergence of AI, in particular LLMs, large language models, made all our previous efforts obsolete. I was sad, but I was happy as well. Now, I'd like to emphasize the importance of the concept simulation here. I argue virtual reality is a simulation of the real world, and AI is a simulation of human communication and intelligence. So VR can provide immersive environment in which learners can learn their target language in context. AI can provide an engaging environment in which learners can have human-like interactions with AI. So, by merging VR and AI, we can simulate human communication in real context for language instruction. And in fact, many companies have already launched on the development of language learning applications that combine VR and AI. For instance, this is a snapshot of such tools, AI tools for language learning. Now, is this an existential threat to the field of foreign language education? Do we still need human language teachers? If yes, what would be the role of a language teacher? And what would be the value of learning foreign languages? Now, those are really important questions, and we need to tackle these questions. But before tackling these questions, I'd like us to think about what is learning in the age of AI? Because AI can give us all sorts of knowledge and answer all our questions pretty much flawlessly nowadays. And in the very near future, our children will have AI tutor and they can ask any questions to these AI tutor. Then what is the value of learning? Why do children go to school to learn? I'm also very intrigued by this question. Does learning require effort or even suffering? Now, I remember when I was a child, we have to learn kanji characters, those Chinese characters, and I have to write many, many times every night, and that was suffering, a big suffering for me. So for me, learning is closely associated with the notion of suffering. Then, what is learning? Now, this text is coming from this NIH NIH National Institute of Medicine, and it says learning involves three key components of the brain: neurons, synapses, and myelin. Probably many of us probably know neurons and synapses, but there is a substance called myelin, and it plays a key role in learning by adjusting the speed of information transmission through neural networks. So neurons and synapses, but you need to transform information between or among those neurons. And for that purpose, myelin plays a crucial role. And most importantly, productive struggle or productive failure spurs the production of myelin. So this sausage-shaped myelin is a fatty protein, and this is myelin. And things like failure, struggle, effort, or suffering, these things actually spurs the production of myelin. Then again, let's think about what is learning. To me, AI might be able to provide many dots of knowledge, but having dot itself does not constitute learning, and it does not help our memory. For me, learning requires connecting dots and transmitting information, and productive struggle or productive failure facilitates this process. How about this question? What would be the value of learning foreign languages in the age of AI? I'd like to argue learning foreign languages has unique benefits. Well, first, language learning is a process of struggle, and it facilitates expanding our cognitive competence. For instance, when I studied English, now English is a head initial language, and then Japanese is a head final language. So those two languages are totally opposite in terms of word order. So learning English to me was a big struggle, but I guess it facilitated expanding my cognitive competence. Second, language learning exposes us to different languages and different culture. This in turn actually helps us understand our own language and culture. And furthermore, that enhances our global competence. And finally, language learning enables us to establish interpersonal connections with people from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. Now, by contrast, machine mediated communication, like here using AI translator, there's no struggle whatsoever. But we have no control over communication. We don't know what words are being used here, and we have no understanding of nuance at all. I believe only human to human direct communication can establish an interpersonal connection and trust. And AI cannot replace the value of learning foreign languages in this respect. What about human language teachers? Do we still need them? My answer is, of course, yes. Now, I believe AI tutor and human teacher, I think we need to coexist with AI tutor. But when we compare AI tutor and human teacher, I'd like us to think about the dichotomy between practice and experience. I argue AI tutor can provide structured practice through exercises, drills, and instant feedback. But human teacher can offer experience by adapting to students' emotions, cultural nuances, and real world interactions. And practice can build skills, but experience can deepen understanding. So, we, meaning AI tutor and human teachers, we have different roles and responsibilities. That being said, it is important for us to re-examine the goal of language education in the age of AI. I argue the goal of language education should go beyond simply being able to speak or communicate using the target language. AI-enhanced language pedagogy must offer additional value to entice people to learn foreign languages. Now, the question is, what is this additional value to entice people to learn foreign languages? I don't have a clear answer to this question. However, I'd like to cite from Professor Ray Kurzweil. He is a famous computer scientist at MIT. And in his article, Technology Will Let Us Fully Realize Our Humanity, he says, we will be free to learn for its own sake, thanks to AI. Now, what does it mean? Well, in the past, the Industrial Revolution reflamed education as training for economic success. So nowadays, kids or children study for getting into a good school, getting a good job, or earning more money. This deadens their natural curiosity and love of learning. But AI will let us be free to learn for its own sake. But what does it mean, learn for its own sake? Now, I'd like to use my personal experience to kind of explain what this means. So, when I was working at Microsoft Research, I practiced classical guitar. I didn't have to learn how to play guitar at all, but I did it. Why? If I really just want to listen to good music, I just can go to music concert or listen to YouTube or something. Yet, I wanted to learn a guitar. So, what really motivated me, spending lots of time and spending lots of money, is really intrinsic desire and motivation. So, the role of a language teacher in the age of AI, we need to be able to inspire and mentor and coach our students so that we can nurture the love of learning foreign languages. Now, this is a much harder responsibility, I believe. Now, to summarize so far, I addressed two questions. What would be the value of learning foreign languages, and what would be the role of a language teacher in the age of AI? I argued learning foreign language has unique values, enhancing cognitive competence, enhancing global competence, and learning foreign languages allow us to establish interpersonal connections. So, in this respect, AI cannot replace the inherent value of learning foreign languages. Now, with respect to the role of language teachers in the age of AI, I'd like us to think about teacher as a coach, not as a teacher in the traditional sense. And we need to promote personalized, autonomous, and active learning together with AI. And I'm hoping that we can set up lifelong learning as well. Now, this is a good segue to my next topic, which is my current project. My current project is called FLAP, Fluid Language Pedagogy. Now, FLAP actually utilizes the power of AI, and it promotes personalized, autonomous, and active learning. And it also refers or addresses language teachers' role. Now, this project was supported by MIT's School of Humanities, Art, and Social Science Education Innovation Fund. Now, the motivation of this project, I'm going to talk more about the details of this flap, but first, motivation. Many experts in the field of AI claim AI can transform education by providing personalized learning. But what do they mean by personalized learning? How can we integrate the concept of personalized learning into our existing school system? For instance, our language curriculum is quite linear, like novice, intermediate, advanced. And also our language classes usually like one size fit all type of classes. We put our students, say, first year English, second year English, third year English. But we know each student in these boxes has their own learning style and pace. Then, these two things, personalized learning and our school system, do they contradict each other? So, the current language curriculum is actually very institutionalized, operating within a linear structure with rules. Now, FLAP tries to deinstitutionalize the existing language curriculum to enable personalized learning with more fluid pedagogy. Then, what does a flap class look like? Now, this class consists of students with diverse proficiency levels. So, a flap class accepts any student. We can have beginners, intermediate, or advanced students. There's no textbook for the class per se. And teacher is there, but teacher is there as a coach, and no lecture is coming from a teacher. Now, each student works with what I call co-lang TA, co-language teaching assistant, powered by AI. So this co-lang TA, co-lang teaching assistant is the customized LLM, and students interact with those customized LLM. I plan to offer a flap-based Japanese language class next academic year, and currently I am planning to meet my students once a week in person and once a week by Zoom. Now, to prepare for the next academic year, I'm going to do a simulation of a flap class this summer. In fact, actually starting from June. I have three guinea pig kind of students, and these three students have different proficiency levels in Japanese. I plan to meet with them once a week in person and once a week by Zoom. Now, in preparing for this flap class, I have lots of actually practical and research questions in front of me. For instance, how can we create customized LLMs tailored to learners' proficiency levels? What speech technology would be available to improve student speaking skills? Now, LLMs are more like text-to-text interactions, but for someone to learn a foreign language, they have to be able to speak. Then what kind of speech technology would be available, and what kind of prosodic kind of feedback speech technology can provide? And how can we monitor students' progress on a daily basis? Remember, I am not going to meet with them, or I'm not going to see them every day. I only meet with them in person once a week. But how can I monitor their progress? Students are studying every day. Now, another question is, what type of grading system would work for this? So this flap class consists of students with various proficiency levels. So the traditional grading system does not work. Now for this, I'm thinking of adapting what is called alternative grading system, in particular contract grading system. Then how can we measure the impact of AI on their language acquisition? And more practical questions are like, what do students do during the in-person classes and the Zoom sessions? And how do students learn the target language together with their co-lang TA? So those questions are very interesting, but very challenging. And we already started exploring some kind of ideas to tackle these questions. But today, due to time limitations, I'm going to just talk about one thing. How can we create customized LLMs tailored to learners' proficiency levels? Now, this is all about controlling and restricting knowledge in large language models. Now, as you probably know, LLM has a humongous amount of knowledge because it was trained on all the text on the web. What we need to do is shrink the knowledge of LLM so that LLM can actually respond to students appropriately. Now, the way that we've been doing to create customized LLM is we are providing some resource files as knowledge. We are also working on a prompt engineering, and that way we can actually limit or control the knowledge of LLM, and customized LLMs will respond to student levels appropriately. Now, to this end, we are using two platforms. One is Google's Notebook LM, and ChatGPT has the feature called Explore GPTs. So we are using these two platforms to create customized LLMs. I want to emphasize the fact that this FLAP is an interdisciplinary project. It involves not only just language pedagogy or linguistics, it involves learning science, cognitive science, assessment, speech, and even prompt engineering. So this is really a challenging project. But I'm hoping that FLAP can give new insight on language pedagogy and curriculum in the age of AI. Now, concluding remarks. I believe AI is giving us a great opportunity for us to unlearn and relearn language pedagogy. So let's work together hand in hand with AI. So thank you for listening. So this is a question session.
Yeah, thank you very much for this inspiring and thought-provoking talk. Very, very interesting. Thank you so much. But we are kind of a little bit overrun with time, but let's still have 2 or 3 questions. Anybody would got questions to ask? Anybody got questions? Okay, thank you. Yeah.
I will get the mic. Thank you for your wonderful examples, because I have been reading and also learning from another professor from Sydney, Professor Yuna Kim, and we talk about personalized learning as well. So the biggest challenge to motivate students to unlearn and relearn would be how to keep track of what they engage with your system. So what would be your suggestions to keep logbook or digital logs for students to stay connected with their goals and also reset their unlearning process? That would be my major question. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a very great question. So to keep track of, engaging student is really important but difficult task. And one thing that I'd like to actually this summer, what I'd like to do is I'm going to ask students to provide me all the log files. Like students are going to interact with customized LLM, and they can actually save their log files, and so that I can understand how they interact and what types of activities they do more. So that way, I'm hoping that I can learn how I can engage students interacting with LLM. Now, another kind of related aspect of this is, as I mentioned, I plan to meet with my students in person. Now, these students are at different levels. Then, what are you going to do with students with different levels? What I'm thinking is actually, I'm going to ask advanced level students to teach maybe beginners or intermediate students. So we can create a very interesting space where advanced student can teach each other, and we cannot create such kind of space right now because everybody has the same level. But in this flap class, I can ask actually advanced student to become, say, a TA and teach them. And so this unique space and interesting kind of community, I'm hoping that I can build. That's right now all I can say. And I think this is still my learning process. And to be honest, I'm scared to death, and I may fail, to be honest. But why not? I'm not afraid of failing. And someone has to do it, then I'll do it. That's. But I think I will learn a lot about the behavior of students, how they are going to interact with LLM. Because I know I already asked a couple of students, hey, use LLM and then learn Japanese. But many students actually don't know how to use LLM in order to learn a foreign language. So this is still a big mysterious area for me. But I think it's a step forward to learn that. I'm sorry, I don't know whether I answered your question or not.
Yeah, I can see the colleagues very happy.
Thank you.
I know colleagues still have questions, but I was just told that we actually overrun 10 minutes. So I'm really sorry. We hope that we will still have opportunity to talk with Takako later on. But for time being, can we just thank her for her really interesting talk?
No, thank you so much for having me today. And feel free to shoot me email if you have any questions.
Yeah. So I can pass her email. Can I pass your email to colleagues?
Yes.
Definitely. So I'll pass her emails, and if anybody have any questions, I think she will be very happy. All right. Thanks again. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.